I'm the Hermit Mage, Gerald. Thanks for joining me. This is an installment of hashtag tarot writing prompts, and I have to give a shout out to Robin at Toadstool Tarot for suggesting and taking a leap with the next prompt, which is he got the Fool. So I have done the Fool as well as another card, and this was part of a group that I am with, our weekly writing. And this, I have switched up the decks a little bit. The deck that I'm using is Spirit Within Tarot by Stephen Bright. And the cards that we have are the Fool and the Five of Swords. So I'm going to start with the Five of Swords, and then at the end, I will put up both cards so that you can see them. It's a little bit of a longer story, so feel free to change the speed of the playback. So, the aftermath was dismal. My friends mourned their losses. The youngest of us stretched after hours of pain. It wasn't going to help. Nothing would. I was left picking up the pieces, trying to salvage what I could to carry to the next campaign. I was tempted to leave everything and run off in the opposite direction so I could start over. The battles had been much more difficult than described. We weren't that experienced in battles, let alone this world as the others were. We were naive in agreeing to participate. It will only take a few hours, 4 at the most, he promised. He lied. He really was a prick, like the others warned. It was Chuck, the new kid who offered us a place to set up camp. There were 5 of us in the battle, and one overseeing everything. Chuck was the new kid, not jaded from previous experience. I liked Chuck and his exuberance for his new campaign. It will be fun. I've never done anything like this before, he told us as he was dancing around excitedly gathering supplies. He handed us each a bag of stuff to carry as that we took to camp. The sun was just setting and nature seemed to go quiet just to make a dramatic point as we each took our place around the table. Paul began. Welcome, you warriors, to this campaign to rescue the fair maiden from the ogre army on the other side of the mountain. He was overly dramatic with his voice, moving his arms around, trying to get us to see the world he spent months creating in his mind and weeks putting onto graph paper. I'm getting a soda. Does anyone want one? I asked. No, shouted Paul. You are not allowed to leave the playing table until we complete 2 rounds of play. He was serious. What? I wanted a soda. I only showed up because my best friend needed a 5th player. I agreed after I heard Chuck was hosting. I thought Chuck was cute, but no one needed to know this. Sit down, man, Chuck said. It's all part of the game. Game? Paul said. This is a campaign to rescue the princess from the ogres on the other side of the mountain. He went back to looking at the papers he kept hidden behind a piece of folded cardboard he made just for the sleepover. Princess Sophia Needs Rescued from the Ogres campaign, created by Master Paulisto the Bold. I sat back down next to Chuck, wondering, what have I gotten myself into? Master Paulisto the Bold exclaimed, so we begin, and dramatically shook his closed hands around some dice and threw them on the table. We had been playing almost all night. We had traveled down the mountain, stole treasures from the Fey people after offering them food and drink. Um, Martin had fallen down the path when running away from the swarming leaves of the magical elm tree. That's magical with a K. Um, that held the book of poems needed to be read to the angry 3-headed bear so we could pass. Stan had to doctor him, but messed him up by giving him 2 left feet instead of fixing his broken arm. Every once in a while, Paul, excuse me, Master Paulisto the Bold would roll the dice and laugh as he shuffled papers around. I was really annoyed when he would whisper, "Interesting," quietly. This band of 5 players finally arrived at the ogre camp and set off to rescue Princess Sophia. We were too tired to care enough to be smart in battling the ogres. We had been unsuccessful and lost, each of us turning the others over to the ogres before being roasted and eaten as part of their celebration. Paul stood up at the end, slung his bag across his back, and folded the campaign board and headed to his sleeping bag. I wanted to go outside. Chuck was already outside with his dog, celebrating his first sleepover. His dog was barking while chasing him. Chuck stopped at the rose bush and leaned in to smell. Perhaps being here wasn't a complete waste of time. Thank you for watching.